Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and this episode is produced for Good Crowd Info. Our guest today is Brian Daly, the CEO and founder of Ground Floor. Brian, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you.
Oh, thank you, Devin. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, the pleasure is all ours, I assure you. You're doing some interesting work in the space of real estate, single-family real estate. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in terms of crowdfunding for community-based efforts and such.
We're the web's first micro-lending community for real estate. So we are the first website that allows anyone, and 100% of the investments and loans that we offer people to participate in are open to everyone, to accredited investors and non-accredited investors alike. And we allow people to invest in renovation projects and new construction projects by lending money to builders and renovators who are doing that. They usually borrow the money for about 6 to 12 months, and the rates are about 6 to 26%. So it's the first community of its kind like that on the web.
And what kinds of projects are being done using the financing?
Well, so far, these are the types of small-scale renovation projects that you might see on HGTV if you watch house flipping shows. These are commercial loans to people who are investing in, in houses in neighborhoods. Maybe they bought them out of foreclosure as an investment, and their intention is to fix them up. Sometimes new construction of a house, so we'll sometimes have loans that are for new construction, but it's always a builder, an investor, or a renovator who's working in a neighborhood, to buy low and sell high, and is borrowing money from the web to do it.
So who are the who's providing the equity, I guess, is what I'm trying to figure out. How is the risk being managed for the borrowers?
Sure. So the equity is always provided by the renovator, by the builder. I mean, they are the person that, for example, a borrower will go to a foreclosure auction and put $50,000 of their own money to buy a property. Then they'll come to Ground Floor and they'll list a loan for $40,000 or $50,000, to renovate the property. And once that loan is funded, they'll take that money, go and renovate it. And I'm using real numbers from an actual loan that's already been repaid. That property in particular was sold for $145,000 at the end of the summer. And within 6 months, the money was back in investors' hands with interest. So they were the lenders, and they have the benefit that a lender would have, right? They get paid first. So if the house would have sold for less, the equity would have lost out, but not the people lending the money.
And what was the interest rate on that particular project?
That project was a 10% interest rate. The weighted average internal rate of return on the projects that have been repaid so far is over 11%.
And it probably varies. Well, you suggested 6 to 26%.
Right.
One of the key factors would probably be the amount of equity that people are putting into the projects. What other factors are influencing returns?
We look at several factors in our grading algorithm, and every loan is graded from A to G. So these are objective factors. These are algorithmic. Every loan is awarded points based on how it compares to other loans, and based on the point value, it's assigned a grade and therefore a rate. So some of the factors are how much leverage is in the project, how much equity versus debt, how much money has the actual person who's doing the borrowing, the borrower, how much cash have they put into the project, so to speak, how much skin in the game do they have. We look at the neighborhood where the project is being done. We look at the borrower's experience level, years of experience, and how many projects they've done. We look at their credit score to see how well they've managed their own personal credit. So we look at several factors like that, and of course we're always, as we grow, we're always adding new factors into our algorithm. But that's what we look at today. That and a few additional ones.
Now, Well, it really is interesting to see the way this is working. I want to talk just a little bit, Brian, about the regulatory rubric here. A lot of us in the crowdfunding world have grown accustomed to this idea that ordinary investors, except for in states where there are specific exemptions that are intrastate exemptions, that ordinary investors can't participate in crowdfunding. What's the regulatory rubric that allows people to invest in your projects?
Well, this is where Nick Bargava, my co-founder, and I started. It was incredibly important to us that we joined forces with other people on the web who are doing in finance what the web has done in many other industries, right? Which is bringing more transparency, lower costs, more, and frankly, more democracy into finance. So it was non-negotiable for us from the start that every project that we finance would be open to everyone. We're the only entrepreneurs in this space who have had that commitment. And to get started down that path, since nobody has ever done this before, we needed to pilot it on a small scale in an agile way. And we did that in Georgia. At the time we started, only Georgia and Kansas had intrastate crowdfunding exemptions. Now, of course, those exemptions only allow you to raise just a certain amount of money. But we knew we only needed to do 10 or 12 projects this year in order to learn what we needed to learn before expanding nationwide. So the regulatory construct that we're using now is the intrastate crowdfunding exemption in Georgia. All of our projects are based in Georgia. All of the 2,500 investors that we've signed up are in Georgia. And we have operated like that at low scale all during 2014. So 2015 will be an exciting year because we'll be moving on, taking some big steps down our regulatory roadmap to bringing this nationwide.
And what do you see happening from a regulatory standpoint nationwide that will allow that happening? Are you anticipating passage and implementation of the Title III rules from the SEC?
Well, my co-founder Nick Bargava worked on Title III of the Jobs Act as part of. In fact, he was co-founder of one of the first generation equity crowdfunding portals or platforms back in the day. And because he was an insider who helped to lobby for and work on that law, he was well aware of how it could be used and how it would be, and the challenges that it might have. And most of those challenges have, come clear to everyone now in terms of it being promulgated and affected, and even when it is, there will be challenges as well. So we have never predicated our business on forthcoming regulation. Instead, we use existing regulatory structures and rules at the state and federal level to put together our offerings.
That's great. Now, Brian, let's talk a little bit. I want to get just a little bit personal. Why do you care about crowdfunding? You have all the things you could be doing. Why this?
Well, I enjoy attacking entrenched industry incumbents from a position of weakness. That's habitual for me. I've done it as an entrepreneur since, for the 15 years that I've been an entrepreneur, and I've always found ways to do that. Now, my last one was in the wireless industry, and we had a lot of fun creating Republic Wireless to debunk the idea that you'd have to pay $100 or $150 a month for a smartphone. For an unlimited plan. We created a $19 a month plan that was priced more like Netflix than it was, what people actually pay for wireless today. So really, we're taking a lot of the same principles that we applied, and I say we because my team has come with me from Republic Wireless. A couple members of that team came with me to do this startup the second time, and we're doing it again. The internet always brings, more transparency, more speed, more self-sufficiency, more democracy, and as an entrepreneur, that's what wakes me up in the morning. So, crowdfunding, just as we looked at finance, crowdfunding was the force, right? That a lot of people are going to utilize and are utilizing to bring the web to finance and bring a web sensibility, a web approach, a web structure, and that's as an entrepreneur, that's a missional. That's a missional element for us. It's non-negotiable for us.
Good, good. Now, I want to follow up. How do people use Ground Floor to actually make a difference in their own communities? Help us think through the model to use this in some sort of way to drive social impact.
Well, the fun thing about building a platform and giving people tools is you never know what the web is going to do with it, right? To try to predict that, first of all, it would take away all the fun, but you're always going to be wrong, right? I mean, whatever you hope people are going to do with the tools that you give them never turns out to be quite what they do empirically. So we're watching that, and we've seen a couple of things start to transpire. One of my favorite examples so far is that we partnered with the Atlanta Police Foundation that is now using crowdfunding to finance renovation of a house in a neighborhood where they are going to place a police officer who works in that neighborhood. Instead of him living out in the suburbs and commuting in to police that neighborhood, he's now going to live in that neighborhood. Now, there would have been other ways to finance that property for sure, but crowdfunding is a more participatory way to do it. And that's one example of a way that people are using this. You couldn't really do that with an accredited investor platform because 98% of people are not accredited investors. So we're excited to see where people take it, right? And as we get to a larger scale, we'll be able to enable the community to do more. We've met people who, for example, want to band together and buy the house that was foreclosed down the street, and as a neighborhood, right, get together to renovate that and borrow money from the web to do it, or organize themselves at the beginning to do it. So we're looking forward to that, and as we very much see our role as providing the platform and the tools, and then sitting back and enjoying what the web will do with it.
Fantastic. Well, Brian, how you've been successful in your career, and I want you to think about how to take those success skills and apply them to impact, and give us some counsel so that our listeners who are focused on making a difference in the world can learn from you how to make a difference in the world, how to have more impact.
Here's the hardest thing to do when you want to change something. There are always going to be people who tell you that it can't be done. When we started Republic Wireless, there were people in the wireless industry, and I had lots of friends, who said it would never work. And they had very good reasons why it wouldn't work. The problem is that as a change agent, you need to learn how to listen to those rules, but then know how to take what you've listened to and apply it in a way that helps your mission to go farther or further. And I think that's the trick, because I don't think it's quite true, the aphorism that's out there that don't let people tell you your ideas won't work. I don't think that's right. I don't think we should cover our ears and not listen to anybody who says our ideas won't work. We should definitely listen to what they say. We should just not let it stop us. And I think that's one thing I've learned to do in my career that I think anybody who's working as a change agent in any field would do well to know. Listen, but then apply what they say. And listen to the inner voice that is true, and use what these experts are telling you about why it won't work to make it work all the better. And that's what, we've done that with Ground Floor. We were not real estate guys when we started this business, and I went out to for drinks with community bankers who would tell me horror stories about how the renovators and the builders would rip us off, and the types and how human nature really is. People love to tell you that. Listen to it, but don't let it stop you. Use it.
Fantastic. Now, there will be people who are watching the show today who want to engage with you, to learn more. Let's make sure that they know where to go, what to do, how to learn more, how to engage.
Sure. Our website is groundfloor.us. There you can sign up to join our newsletter. You can sign up for an investor account, which is free. By signing up for an investor account, when we come to your state, which we will be rolling out in a succession of states next year, there will be lots of news and a lot of opportunity for people outside of Georgia in 2015. That's one way to get involved with us. I always enjoy talking to entrepreneurs who want to change the world, and I'm available on Twitter at Brian_Dally, D-A-L-L-Y. I'm pretty easy to find. So you can find me on our website, you can find me on Twitter, or on LinkedIn, and I love talking to people about what they're doing and how they're trying to change the world. And I think your audience certainly has a lot of those people in it. So I welcome that. I'd love to connect.
Well, Brian, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the show today. We really have enjoyed having you, catching up again. It's been great. We appreciate the good work you're doing and the way that you are facilitating community building, and we wish you every success in that.
Thanks so much, Devin. It's great to be with you.
All righty. Let's do some good.